people say, hey, we've got a new covenant. We've got this new covenant. So, and I've always said, if God can't keep his covenant with Israel, how can we trust him to keep his covenant with us as Christians?
That's right.
Right? So, what do you say to people? Say, well, you know what? We've replaced
first of all,
the Jews with the new covenant.
The first thing people need to do is to understand the principles of covenant. Now, it's my firm conviction that many people who hold this particular perspective, even church leaders, do not understand the principles of covenant. If a covenant has been cut, not made, you don't make covenants, you only cut covenants. If a covenant has been cut, promises are given, and then it's all sealed with an oath, then that covenant cannot be broken. Okay? That's what people need to understand. The covenant with Abraham has not been broken from God's perspective.
Not negotiable.
It's not negotiable because Abraham was fast asleep when it all took place, right?
Right.
But the most important thing is it's sealed with an oath. And many times you'll see in Scripture where God says, the land that I swore on oath. And so that is an important aspect of covenant. Okay? You've got to understand the principles of covenant. So there are promises that are associated with that covenant that are still in standing today. There are promises that were associated with the Mosaic or Sinai Mosaic covenant, but that's a conditional covenant because when the Torah, the constitution of God was given to Moses, who gave it to the people then responded and said, we will obey, which means that now they actually have a responsibility to uphold the conditions of the Mosaic covenant. If they don't, they'll incur the curses. One of the curses, of course, was exile from the land. So the existence of the people in the land was dependent upon their obedience to the Mosaic covenant, okay, or the Torah.
Right.
If they were in disobedience, they would be exiled. Now, being exiled from the land doesn't mean to say that they've been cut off completely, because that's to do with the covenant that God cut with Abraham. So there are promises that are associated, particularly with that covenant as well. There's the Davidic covenant, and there are promises associated with that. The new covenant of Jeremiah 31, verses 31 to 37, not 31 to 34, but it continues on to 37, is also another covenant that's been cut. It says in the Hebrew, the covenant that I will cut with the nation of Israel. You know, therefore, there has to be a sacrifice. That sacrifice was Jesus. But he's also the mediator. It has to be an Israelite. It has to be a representative Israelite. So Jesus is both the representative Israelite, but he's also the sacrifice. It's never happened before. So it's all bound up in the person of Jesus. There will be promises associated with the new covenant. So those promises are just for that new covenant. Okay, so you've got to be careful you don't mix up the covenants and mix up the promises that are associated with different covenants. And so the new covenant was cut with the nation of Israel. It speaks about the forgiveness of sins. It speaks about an intimate relationship with God, because it says they shall all know me. And that in the Hebraic thinking talks about relationship. And it also says that they shall receive basically the Torah of God into their hearts and into their minds. And we'll know that's it's by the Spirit. But if you continue on in Jeremiah 35 onwards to 37, it basically says there, it's like an appendix to this new covenant, that the nation of Israel shall exist so long as there are stars in the sky and the moon and the
and if you could count those stars, I would do away with.
That's right. That's right.
I would do away with.
Right. So
I tried to count them one day. There's a lot.
So we know, therefore, that new covenant is still in being, okay? But also the nation of Israel will still have to exist, because that nation is there because of the promises that God gave to Abraham. So for those who uphold the whole concept of replacement theology, I'd just say point blank, they don't know their scriptures. Or they may know their scriptures, but they don't understand the principles of covenant. And if you don't understand the principles of covenant, you don't understand the nature of God. For instance, if a person upholds that belief system, sorry for being so frank.
No, that's fine.
Then
Frank works.
I don't honestly believe they have a true understanding of who God is. You're saying, therefore, that God actually will break his covenant promises. But according to the principles of covenant, once it's sealed with an oath, it cannot be broken. You'll see instances in the book of Esther and in Daniel, for instance, where kings made edicts and later they wanted to change their mind, but they couldn't. Why? Because the edict had been sealed with an oath, and they cannot. Even they couldn't break it. They had to make another edict to overturn the first one. That is an idea of what a covenant was all about in ancient history. Jesus understood that. Paul understood it. Okay? They didn't have to sit down and write it all out because people understood it. It's the Westerners, especially particularly the Western theologians, who don't understand it. Yeah. And that's where the problems come from.
No, that's a good point. Okay, so what are you doing now? What's your vision from here on out? Like, you're back in Australia now. What do you see yourself doing for the next few years?
Well, at the moment, I'm over in Canada enjoying the sunshine.
Yeah,
I'm here as a
it's
guest.
like that every day here in Vancouver. It never rains.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad you put it on for me today. Though.
Yeah, okay.
I'm here as a guest of CMJ Canada. I'm going to the UK to do some work for CMJ in the UK. And if the Lord wills it that I'm involved with the organisation CMJ again, so be it. If not, I'll remain in Australia and enjoy sunshine 365 days of the year.
Good on you, mate.
Okay.
No worries. Thank you so much. And we'll do much more. I look forward to having longer conversations with you because I can learn so much.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
We're always learning from each other.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Dave.
Okay.